My name is Kris Gethin, and what I aim to bring to you is inspiration, motivation from clients, everything that will allow you to evolve as a human being. Hello everybody, Kris Gethin here, and this is the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. And this is a very special episode where, yet again, I will be talking to my one-on-one online clients to see where they came from, what the struggles were, how they were able to accomplish their goals, and navigate what we know today is a very volatile world. You know, we all have excuses, we all have justification, but how do we have the persistence within us and that consistency that we know come to the surface so we can navigate through these things called excuses and justifications? So one of those people that has done exactly that is the person on the other line, Paul Herding. Welcome to the show, brother. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Kris. Happy to be here.
Great to have you on and see you again, my friend. So if you don't mind just telling the viewers, the listeners, because we're recording this on YouTube as well, and I'll show people in a second here what your before pictures look like and what your current pictures look like. I can't say after pictures because we're going through another process of evolution right now, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what was it? What was that tipping point that made you say, you know what, I got to get a little bit healthier. I got to step up my game.
Absolutely. So I've been dabbling in weightlifting and fitness for a while now, probably about a decade. And I actually did my first transformation in early 2013 using Kris's original hardcore trainer back on bodybuilding.com. And that really, kicked my butt and got me in great shape and super lean. But since then, I've kind of had an off and on, like, okay, cool, end of a transformation, and then just go back to bad habits and things like that. And I think eventually it just got to the point with the pandemic and everything where I just was probably in the worst shape of my life starting near the end of 2020. And so I signed up for the 2021 challenge through KAGEDMUSCLE. And I actually was one of the three winners, or four winners, I guess, but other two that I met, Tim and Liz, on the trip, got to work out with Kris personally. And that was a huge motivator for me to be like, okay, let's actually take this seriously. It's not just an 8-week transformation. We got to make this a lifelong commitment. And for the past 12 weeks, I've been working one-on-one with Kris and have done another transformation. And I really feel like the lifelong habits are forming now. And that, I think, is kind of the mindset I'm going for right now, is to make this not just like a cool, that was 12 weeks and now it's over, but more of a, all right, we're going to carry this forward.
Can you let us know exactly what your starting weight was before you started the challenge? And then, what it was when we started and where we're at right now, even though your body composition has changed immensely.
Yeah. So when I started the challenge in January of 2021, I was around like 198, 200 pounds. And I have no idea. And I don't think I want to know what my body fat percentage was at that point. But at the end of 8 weeks, I dropped down to 168. And I wasn't super lean, but I had cut, 30-ish pounds in 8 weeks using the hardcore trainer. And then I guess I let myself go from 168 up to kind of the 180s again. And when I started working with Kris 12 weeks ago, I was like 183 at the start, and currently I'm down to 157. So, I mean, from the start of the challenge at near 200, now I'm at 157. It's a big change.
Yeah, definitely a big change. And I'm sure there's some people out there who are bigger people and like, okay, that's not that much of a change. But when you actually see the visual change, because obviously you put on a substantial amount of muscle during that time as well, you can see that. So I'm going to show this up to the camera there.
Oh, yeah.
looking very chuffed about your before picture there.
Yeah, that's a big boy there.
Yeah, that was high body fat percentage. And that is current right now you know, looking absolutely phenomenal. Got the obliques in, got the abs in, the delts, and obviously you can see the triceps, even though this is a front shot. And here, that is from the end of the cage muscle challenge. So, you know,
Oh yeah,
look great, look phenomenal. You know, that's why you were a winner. And then we just took it up another level,
absolutely.
in those after pictures there. And I just wanted to show this one, like the back picture. You know, like a lot of people say, oh yeah, but you can stick your gut out. Well, you can't really fake a back picture. This is obviously, we'll put the proper pictures up because this is a bit washed out, but you can actually see, you know, the lines of your Christmas tree in that picture coming from your lats. So absolutely phenomenal there. So, you know, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, people go, oh yeah, maybe it's easier for you. Can you tell our viewers and listeners, you know, what is it that you do for a living? What sort of hours that you're working? What are your challenges? You know, your lifestyle, you know, how you're living. And not only that, like, where do you fit in the time for, you know, your meal prep, getting your workouts in, getting your cardio in, and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So professionally, I'm a teacher and a tutor. My wife and I own our own tutoring company, and we also do some homeschooling as well. So my work days look like doing some homeschooling in the morning through the early afternoon, and then maybe I have a little break there. And then my afternoons, I start tutoring students after school until night. So oftentimes my workday can span during the school year from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. And sometimes during exam times, that's just a 12-hour workday. And other times, there's a couple hour gap in the middle there, which is where you've got to maximize the time you've got. And I also live in a small rural Colorado community where our closest grocery store is about an hour away from us. So that is, when you're dealing with a transformation like this or an eating plan, and it's like, hey, these are the things you need to eat. It's not like, oh shoot, I just forgot one of those. I'll go down to the grocery store and be back in 10 minutes. It's 2 hours of driving, there and back, and the time to pick it up. So a lot of planning goes in, and a lot of optimization of schedule goes into it. And I think getting cardio in for me and getting a workout in for me, what works best is doing it right when I wake up. And I usually find that sometimes mentally it's like, I have a busy day, I could put it off till later. And I've found in the past that when I do that, there's usually something else that comes up. Either I'm too tired and I give it like a 50% effort in the gym, or I could just rotate this to one of my rest days when I'm not as busy. And you start making those small excuses, and then, the bigger excuses come later. And I feel like it's really important to kind of set the tone for the day. Wake up, knock out your weights, knock out the first session of cardio, and then get on with things. Because it's easier to find time for that second cardio later. Where you don't have to be quite as present in a cardio session as you do in a weight session. So for me, that works. That's what works. And for meal prep, my wife, Mary, is a huge help in that department. We've done transformations before together. And so she's super in tune with what needs to be cooked and how food needs to be prepared. And I honestly, I couldn't be doing half the things I do without her support and help every step of the way. So, yeah. And if you haven't at this point, if you're doing transformations or into lean eating, one of the first things Kris told me was, hey man, get yourself an air fryer. And I have to say, the air fryer for me has changed the ease at which I can eat sweet potatoes, because I love baked sweet potatoes, but in like the volumes you have to eat, or 300 grams of a baked sweet potato can be a lot. But when you just turn them into chips and give them like one spray with cooking spray, and then boom, they taste phenomenal. You spice them up, and it's like Like
It's like having fries, eh?
it is, but way better for you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And let me ask, when it comes to, your food, obviously you have a busy lifestyle. Sometimes you're homeschooling. Like, can I assume that you can't always, stop and have a meal? Sometimes you have to have a shake to replace that meal. Some people say, well, supplements, they could be 3 to 5% of your overall goals, achieving your goals. Sometimes it can be a little bit higher dependent on that person's lifestyle, i.e. if you need to replace a couple of meals through, drinking that meal, then that could be the case. Is this the case with you?
Absolutely. And what I've done sometimes on the transformation is I think my 5th out of 6 meals was protein only. And so, I would just have some lean ground turkey or a chicken breast or something like that for the 5th meal. If I ever found myself in a pinch where it was like, I'm not going to get my normal 11:30 a.m. meal, what I would do is do a rotation and be like, okay, this is not maybe optimal, but I'm going to get my macros for the day and rotate that protein only meal earlier, take a protein shake, and then hit my 11:30 meal later. But that way I stay consistent with my macronutrients day in, day out. Or even, just do a protein shake with oats or something like that. One of my staples for years has been, as other people refer to it, as proats, which is just protein powder and oatmeal. And it's super easy, super quick. And if you need that, if you know your carbs that you need and your protein, you can mix that up in a bowl and get that down real quick.
Now, I wanted to raise this question as well, because a lot of people are sometimes concerned when they start training with me, because they kind of know my programs are pretty strict. There's no cheat days or anything like that. And they wonder, how am I going to navigate the cravings? So some people will use like the isolator oats. They'll have that to navigate through their cravings. Sometimes they'll have casein, or sometimes like hydrocharge with some carbonation. Sometimes that helps. Did you encounter cravings? And if so, how do you navigate them? Or are you able to shut it out mentally?
So for me, I'm a very, I would never claim to be as intense as you are with that, but like I'm a very 0 or 100 person. And so if you leave that door open a crack, I often feel like there are ways for, excuses or bad decisions to come in. And so when I'm not on a plan and when I'm just eating freely, yes, I have a sweet tooth, and yes, I have cravings. Like otherwise I wouldn't be in the shape you see in some of those photos. So, but when I'm on a plan and I'm following the diet, honestly, the past 12 weeks, I feel like I've had no cravings in terms of like sweet things and things like that. It's just been getting those 6 meals in, I feel like has really stabilized my blood sugar levels. And that has honestly helped me kind of stay focused on the goal. And, but I do feel like if you are a type of person that really needs to have those cheats in order to stay on the diet, I think compliance is more important than, than being like, oh, it's 100 or nothing. So if you've got to have a cheat meal, that's fine. But I really feel like you have to spell out what the boundaries are. And if it's like, okay, it's going to be 1 cheat meal, and then like when I get up from this table, it's over, and then it's back to the plan. It's not like this gray zone where you can,
totally get you. I'm exactly the same. I get cravings just like the next person. People think, oh yeah, you're obviously do this for a living, then it must be different for you. No, we're all human. We all still have the same urges and cravings. And I find having something along the lines of like having the proats, as you call it, or casein, or something along the lines of that, it gives your brain the bliss point that it thinks that it's going to get from chocolate or cakes or cookies or whatever it may be. And usually it's distraction is what you need. So if you are distracting yourself with eating something that's healthy, but kind of tricks your brain into something that is getting like sweet, then that distraction is all it needs. It just needs 20, 30 minutes to go, okay, I'm satisfied. I've forgotten about that. It's that initial urge that you just need to navigate and get through. That's what I found.
Yeah.
Now, obviously you've gone through my video trainers and you won the transformation challenge with Cage Muscle. And, I obviously put these video trainers out there and my content in order for people to follow these programs, because I can't train thousands of people. I can train a certain amount. But what has been the difference for you going through those video trainers, winning that contest, to now us working in partnership as an online client? What do you feel has been the things that you've taken away, that you've applied, that's allowed your physique to change like quite substantially in a very short time frame?
The things from the coaching or the things from other?
Yeah, from my coaching, from the one-on-one coaching, in comparison to just following, like the video trainers and participating in the challenge.
Yeah. And I would say, for those of you out there who are maybe listening to this podcast and haven't before, I would recommend going through one of Kris's video trainers just to get the knowledge there, because there's a lot of knowledge, and just going through one of those trainers is life-changing if you follow it all the way from start to end. And if that's all you engage with the content, that's at least going to put you on a positive path to change. But I would say from the coaching specifically, from my point of view, one of the biggest things that Kris has taught me is getting better sleep. Like, it's crazy how much I've neglected that part of the equation. I've never been an 8-hour-a-night sleeper. I've never had great boundaries around sleep time. It was just like, I'll sleep when I sleep. I never paid attention to, screen time consumption right before bed and things like that. And since working with Kris, I've been able to get 8 hours of sleep pretty reliably when I've been at home. And I have spent a month of this transformation on the road, and even then visiting family and lots of events and a busy work schedule, I've still been able to get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep a night, which for me was huge. And honestly, I think that's probably the biggest component that I was missing up to this point.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people are always thinking and prioritizing their workouts. Okay, in order for me to change, I got to prioritize my workouts. Of course, nutrition as well, but I'm going to psych myself up for that workout. I'm going to take the pre-workout. I'm going to be energized. I'm going to be ramped. Not really understanding or appreciating that your recovery dictates your performance in everything. Your focus, your muscle output, your energy output, testosterone, hormonal production, absolutely everything. And obviously on top of that, your insulin sensitivity. You can become insulin resistant, obviously eating the wrong food, but definitely lacking in sleep or sleeping too late as well. So now, as you mentioned, you're sleeping better. You're going to be recovering so much better. Your testosterone levels should be increasing. And then further from that, then you're creating this insulin sensitivity now. And you can see that, you're very, very lean now, which puts you in a perfect position to actually put on muscle now, which is your next goal, correct? And
that is the goal. That is the goal.
That's the goal. Put on lean muscle. Yeah. And that's why that's why all year round, doesn't matter if you're on a fat loss diet or muscle building diet, we keep that cardio in there as well to assimilate the foods, allow them to better transport themselves and put on lean tissue.
Yeah.
So do you have an idea of, what the amount of muscle that you want to put on? Do you, what are you envisioning? Because I know there's, you want to step on the stage sometime in the near future.
Yeah. So I would love to do, a physique competition. And I know, I'm maybe late to the game at 35, but it's one of those lifetime things that would just be cool to have participated and to learn more about it. And I'm the type of person that really likes to kind of pick a hobby or an interest and dive into it and figure out why people are so fascinated with different concepts of it. And I know that for competition, there's just a wealth of knowledge that I don't have right now. And I'd be really excited to participate. And that's kind of where I'm turning to you as a coach to say, hey man, what do I have to do to actually compete, in a physique competition where is 157? Is that do I need 20 pounds of muscle? Do I need, 15? Like where on the scale do I need? But I'm willing to build as much as I possibly can. I'm ready to work, and I'm going to put in the effort and the discipline, and certainly whatever my genetic potential will allow, that's what I'm going for. So
yeah, and the great thing is that you do have good genetics, meaning that everything is balanced. You're very symmetrical. Nothing's really unbalanced there. You've got good muscle bellies, the insertions, the attachments look really, really good. So you don't have any problems there. Obviously, putting on a little bit of size will definitely be advantageous. But at the end of the day, we don't get caught up in the scales. It's all an illusion at the end of the day. They don't ask you what you can bench or how much you weigh when you step on that stage. And a lot of the time, it's as long as you're just very, very lean and full at the same time, you don't flatten out, you don't get watery, then you'll look on point on stage. And you could have somebody that's outweighing you by 10, 15 pounds, but you can beat that person because maybe they're not hard enough. They don't have the right symmetry, balance, or fullness, etc. So looking forward to helping you go through that new evolution of packing on lean muscle tissue now to step on a stage, because that's a phenomenal goal to have as well. You may not think, okay, I want to be a competitor, but just to step on the stage, that takes a lot of courage, number one, but it creates a sense of urgency. And with that sense of urgency, you become more present and more focused within everything that you do. It's very easy for us to put things off and justify excuses when we don't have a specific goal in mind. So I think it's a phenomenal goal. In regards to being late to the game, you're not late to the game. I was competing at your age. And when I retired from bodybuilding, I continued to put on quite a substantial amount of muscle for a good 5-6 years after that. I retired and I thought I've probably reached my potential, but I was nowhere near it. So there is a long way to go, but it just takes a lot of persistence and consistency, not just from physical output, but mentally. It takes a lot of work, and all about the mental work for sure. You do it all day, every day. And, I've come from a background where I've done a lot of physical labor, and that's nothing compared to mental labor. So, if you can stay consistent and stay focused, then that's going to be the main thing, and injury-free, of course.
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to is a clean transition here into a bulk and muscle building. And what you just said was that sense of urgency of having maybe the goal of stepping on stage is super important. I think for other people out there, going through a bunch of transformations, the problem is right at the end, you're like, okay, well, I've reached my goal and now I'm done with that. And then you move on to, or you go back to the bad habits because you don't have that next goal in mind. You're just like, okay, I'm lean, I'm going to enjoy this for a while. And then by the time you kind of snap out of that, you've kind of lost what you've worked so hard for. So I think having this strong goal set up is really important. And I know you've always stressed the importance of goals, both long-term and short-term. And I believe there's a lot of truth there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of visualization to go with it. Now, what are like the main, what are the main obstacles that you have to overcome in order to achieve your goals, do you believe?
Well, I think a big obstacle for everybody in undergoing a transformation is time management, just finding the time to get the cardio in, finding the time to get the workout in, finding the time to do the meal prep. And I feel like for me, the discipline isn't as much of a problem. It's if I make a decision to do something, it's like a switch, and it's just like, okay, we're doing this. And that doesn't mean it's not without its challenges, but the commitment isn't the issue. I think for me, a big challenge is just showing up every day with the goal in mind and bringing that intensity. I work out at home, living in this rural community. Like I mentioned before, that I have a home gym that I've built over the past 10 years. And so oftentimes I'm the only person. My wife will lift with me 3 or 4 days a week, but there are workouts where I'm by myself or she's working on something different. And so being that only source of accountability to myself in the gym is difficult at times. But I think that's kind of a relatable experience for everybody out there. If you don't have a training partner or you don't have somebody to light a fire underneath you, you've got to dig deep. And sometimes that's hard at 5 a.m. But
yeah, I'm sure. Especially at this time of year when it's cold and it's dark outside, and that your garage gym is pretty bloody cold at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, obviously there are a lot of challenges that people have to encounter. Everybody has different challenges. What has been the most rewarding thing then from all these sacrifices that you've been making? What's the most rewarding success that you've been able to achieve this far?
I think honestly, the most rewarding thing has been the mental health from this, like the physical, everything, the physical transformation is great. It's fantastic. I love it. I love the way I feel physically right now, but mentally for me, this has been a huge year. I think 2020 was a tough year for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And that was definitely true for me. And I feel like from the photo Kris showed earlier, I think the mental state I was in at the time was like, I'm usually a pretty upbeat guy. I'm usually pretty happy. But I think at that time, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of health related issues were popping up, and just because of the state of my condition. And after going through this transformation, I feel locked in. I feel like my baseline level of happiness is way higher than it was before. And I don't feel anxious. I feel calm, focused, and I feel like it's made me better at work. It's made me, a more present partner for my wife. And it's definitely been the biggest benefit for me. And I think a lot of people overlook that physical health, mental health connection.
Yeah, and that should be the priority. Like I was talking about this just yesterday or the day before, where we have physical education in school. We should definitely have mental education. Meditation education. Start the day with 10 minutes of meditation, finish the day with a guided meditation or something like that, because that's huge. And it's no secret really, if you feed your body and your brain with the right foods, the right nutrients. And look, if you are somebody that has low dopamine levels, for instance, then you need to exercise. You need to have movement just to get to that baseline, just to feel normal. Otherwise, you're going to feel that you've got a condition and now you've got to go to the doctors. Maybe sometimes that is the case, but a lot of the time that is preventative. If you feed your body with the right fuel, you get some sunlight, you meditate, you exercise daily, then chances are you're going to feel a lot better no matter where you are in life right now. And like you said, a lot of people do overlook that, but that should be the priority, because the physical will come, but the mental health should be that priority.
Yeah. And I will just add to that. I think kind of, in the middle part of 2021, like after the Caged Muscle transformation and before I started working with you, I relaxed my diet habits. I went back to, like eating whatever, or like not really thinking about things. And that's where I put some of the weight back on. But during that time period, I had digestive issues, and like I got allergy tested. Like I think I even told you right at the beginning, like it might be a nightshade intolerance or something. Like I was trying to figure out exactly what was causing these digestive symptoms. And I eventually, like they just, they stuck a camera down and they were like, hey man, everything looks good. And so it was just like, I was feeling all these real symptoms, but at the same time, the doctors scoped it out and they're like, yeah, nothing's wrong. And I think it was just like unhealthy eating habits, maybe some acid reflux and maybe some anxiety, but all of that stuff has gone. It's gone. It's gone away in the past 12 weeks of working, and just so strange to have symptoms that were present and just disappear after making a transformation and making a commitment to healthy eating. And yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we are surrounded in a world now today where food is undernourished. The soil is undernourished, so obviously the food is, and then the products and sometimes the food have herbicides, they have pesticides, they're high in pro-inflammatory ingredients. Could be sugar, could be omega-6, vegetable oils, which all have an effect. Then, if that inflammatory response in our gut leads to a chemical response in our brain as well, we're not going to feel good. You could pass that, have a leaky gut, you could pass that blood-brain barrier, and you're going to feel bad. You're going to feel bloated. You're going to have digestive issues. And I've noticed with a couple of clients who deal with anxiety, that can lead to bloating and digestive issues. I've heard that many, many times. Of course, it's observational on my part, but when you've heard it a few times that someone deals with anxiety and they're having a lot of bloating issues, then it could be a connection there as well. So, it's no secret that, if you're going to eat shit, you're probably going to feel like shit.
Yep. Agreed.
But anyway, mates, it's been an absolute pleasure, obviously, talking to you. And, it's a pleasure and an honor to train you and help you through this transformation. But what I love is, of course, your pictures just blow my socks off and blow everybody's socks off that's going to be watching this. It's very inspiring. But what I love even more that is the story behind it and sharing these stories. And that's why I wanted to, start bringing on my clients, such as yourself, to share your stories. As I've said many times, not everyone relates to me. People think I work out for a living. People think I'm a robot and I just go through this. Okay, well, maybe I'm not going to convince you otherwise. But by getting people on, such as yourself, that are coming from all sort of walks of life, showing that you can defy a lot of the excuses or things that are holding you back, no matter what shape you're in the beginning, you can navigate this world that is basically trying to capture us to do things an unhealthy way. And on top of that, it's hard to stay motivated as well. So thank you very much for sharing your story and inspiring a lot of people here, Paul.
Yeah, of course, Kris. Anytime.
All right. Well, thank you very much again. And thank you to the viewer, to the listener for tuning in. Really, really appreciate you. So until next time, my name is Kris Gethin. This is Paul Herding. This is the Knowledge and Mileage Podcast, and we are out. Thank you ever so much for listening. My name is Kris Gethin, and I am out.